So how much does success in planning cost? By the end of this video, you're going to figure out how to protect 80% of your net worth and prevent a 7-figure loss from inaction. You're worried about the cost of planning, but what about the cost of not doing anything at all? Hey, listen, you wouldn't run a marathon without a coach, so why would you go through this marathon without the advisors? So now it's time to get to the real question, and that's how much does succession planning cost? And I know a lot of you are just thinking, hey, is there a number? Could I just pay somebody one fee and then we move on? The question about cost and succession planning is kind of like answering the same question it costs about building a pool or visiting a gypsy for a card reading, which I don't recommend, but whatever. And that is, it depends. So I want to walk you through a little grid that I think will be super helpful and visual to be able to line this out. And the first thing that we need to really think through around this cost succession issue is defining the various cost categories that we look through. And so we put a little acronym here called T.A.M.I. What do I mean by that? Well, the first is time, because it does take a lot of time. I don't know if you know this, but a business owner's time, if you look up the statistics, is calculated and cost coded at a minimum of $200 per hour. That's right, $200 to $1,000 per hour. That's what your time is worth. So you need to make sure that the time you're spending on this is time that you see a return on that investment of the time that you put in. Too many of us are just kind of Googling stuff and looking around, and we're burning an hour here and 4 hours here and 8 hours here, and we're getting no return from that. That actually leads into the second cost category that we look at, and that's this idea of attention. Now you could sit here and go, hey Scott, I get time, but how is that different from attention? I want you to remember this. Your attention is what the marketing companies of the day want more than anything else. More than your money, more than your data, they want your eyeballs. They want your attention on something. The thing I want you to understand about attention is the irrevocability of it. What does that mean? Well, Dietrich Bonhoeffer said, he said, time is irrevocable. I would make the same case for attention. That means you cannot renew it. It's a non-renewable resource. You cannot get more of your attention that you've lost. You cannot get more of your time that you've lost. You can go make more money. Heck, we as human beings can go make more human beings. That's crazy. But we can't make more time and attention. And so what I mean by time is the actual time you're spending going through the succession planning. What I mean by attention is the adverse time that you're just thinking about it. Driving, thinking at night, waking up at 2:37 in the morning and thinking about it. That's grabbing your attention. Or you might be at the dinner table with the people you love and you're there, but you're not there. You know what I'm talking about. Every business owner has experienced that. And so we think about succession planning costs. We have to think of it both in time and attention. Then that leaves us to the M of T.A.M.I, and that's the obvious one of this issue of money. How's that going to cost? As I go through these things, I'm going to line out some costs that I think will be helpful for you so you can start to make some decisions and make some budgeting around it as well. But the fourth is what I want you to pay close attention to, because regardless of the numbers I put over here, you're going to be drawn to those. But I don't want you to miss this one, because the number that's associated with this next one will blow your mind, and that is inaction. Just sort of walking around and not getting anything at all, burning a lot of time, burning a lot of attention, burning a lot of money, and yet there's no action or implementation. That's the real cost of succession planning, or a lack of succession planning. So I want to tell you a quick story. Manufacturing plant is churning out its widgets, doing its thing, and all of a sudden, the whole thing goes down. You're like, what happened? Well, the better question is, how do we get this back up? More so than what happened. And so all the engineers were in the manufacturing plant. This is a well-told story, by the way. You can look this up. They were in the manufacturing plant, and finally somebody goes, we can't figure this out. We need to call Joe. Well, Joe was the old guy. He used to work there. He knew everything. He knew how to fix everything. And so they call up Joe, and they go, hey, Joe, every minute we're down, it's costing us tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars because of inaction. And so Joe comes on out slowly in his reliable pickup, and he walks in and he looks around a little bit and he says, tell me what's going on. They tell him, and he takes a hammer and he just goes whack, and he hits the side of this one big machine, and everything picks back up. And the guy's like, Joe, man, I cannot thank you enough for coming over here and helping us. And hey, Joe, send me a bill. Joe sends him a bill for $10,000. The guy gets the bill and goes, what, Joe, that took you like a minute. And he said, no, I billed you for the minute of time, but I billed you $10,000 for the knowledge of where to hit the hammer on the machine and get the thing done. And that's why you don't need to concern yourself as much with the numbers on this side as you need to worry about this right here. That manufacturing plant was losing tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars every minute, and they're going to bark over a $10,000 bill? Think about that when you're thinking about advisors and what they can stoke you and get you out of this mindset of inaction, because that's where succession planning really comes into play. All right, the next section we want to look at is actually clarifying where you want this thing to go, where you want this business to go. So in order to transact a thing downstream, 2 years, 5 years, 20 years, then we've got to have clarity on where that goes. There's a proverb that says, where there is no vision, people scatter like ants. In fact, there's a couple versions. Where there's no vision, people become detached, which makes sense to the second version as they scatter. The third's a little harsher. They die. Where there is no vision, people die. Well, we don't want to get there, obviously. And so what we want to do is go through the step of articulating vision, which can be incredibly clarifying for you. And then with that, what we start to do is see the clarification of that vision, and in that vision we start to rally people. There's another statement, lest you think that vision is a modern day concept by Jim Collins or Peter Drucker or whoever. It is not. Vision is age old, centuries, millennia old. And there's another phrase that was recorded about 3,000 years ago or so, and it said this: write the vision down so that those who read it may run. I'm about to give you a tip that's going to save you thousands and earn you thousands. You ready? Write it down. And what happens? This is going to be really bad. You have to forgive my artistry. That's a running person. But what are they going to do? They're going to run. But here's what it doesn't tell you. And I'm going to write this in red so you can see this. It does not say which direction they run. They could run with you, or they could run away from you. And so that's what you want to know, because vision is clarifying. It's decisive. It's divisive. We had a plumber one time. I'll never forget this story. And this plumber was meeting with one of our coaches. And the plumber was a little bit slow to kind of get and do the stuff we wanted him to do, and particularly with the vision. And so one of our coaches was finally like, man, we got to get this down because you're all over the place. And so finally he was like, fine. And then he said, okay, now I want you to share this with your team. Plumber's like, no chance. It's like, man. So for months, share it with the team, share it with the team. No. Finally, the plumber comes into one of his coaching meetings and goes, hey, I got my big win. We start every one of our coaching meetings with big wins. I got my big win. And we're like, all right, what you got? And he said, I shared my vision story with my team. And the coach was like, man, that is fantastic. And he goes, yeah. And 2 days later, I had 3 guys quit. And our coach was like, I don't know what to say. Like, I think I'm about to be fired. And the plumber goes, no, man, I wish you to push me harder. I've been trying to get rid of those guys for the last 3 years. And had I known, all I had to do was share my vision and they would have walked away. Why did they walk away? Because he was clear with where he was going and they didn't want to be apart. And so better you know who wants to be with you than away from you. There's a story, I think it's true, you can look it up, but the old shoe company Zappos, the online shoe company, I've heard it said that after 1 or 2 or 3 months of people working there, of new hires, they actually offer you $5,000 to leave. Because they figure if they can get you out for $5,000, you're not going to be there long anyway, and all you're doing is taking up space and time from the people they can invest in. And so it's a way of creating a healthy division to know who's running with you and who's running against you. Part of healthy succession planning is writing down your vision. So we're talking about the cost of succession planning. There's the cost of time, attention, money, and inaction. This is going to be our big one right here. It's the largest culprit. Then the cost of vision preparation and planning. Now, if you wait till the end of the video, I've got a powerful tool for you that it will require your time and attention, but no money, and it'll be really, really helpful. The next category of cost and investment that we need to put in, particularly with your time and attention, is this idea of process. What does that mean? In business, what leads to the value of your business is not your product. This is a myth. This is a misnomer. Your product is simply your product. And it's a commodity. There's thousands of other people that have products just like you, but I'm special. I know you're special, but your product's not, all right? And so we just need to admit that in most cases, your product is very unique, unless you've got a patent and a monopoly. That's about it. But other than that, your product is not super unique. What's unique is your process around that product. And so what we've got to do is come over here and work a little map to get this process out of our head. So we want to take you, who's up here, and you got all this up here in your head, and we need to get it out. So how do we do that? I'm going to give you a framework. You ready? So we're going to do it in the 4 P's and the 4 core. You ready? The 4 P's are purpose, people, process, and profit. Purpose, people, process, and profit. So we think about purpose, we think about things like vision, mission, values, culture building. We think about people, org charts, job roles, scorecards. If these things aren't written down, you're not unlocking value, and succession planning is going to cost you way more and you're going to get less value. I don't want you to do that. The third P is process, and that leads us to our 4 core, which I'll mention here in a minute. And the fourth P is profit. That's the fuel, both past, present, and future. When we look at money, we look at it 3 ways. We look in the past, we look right here in the present, and then we look at the future. Past, balance sheets, P&Ls. Present, subdividing your cash so you can actually see it in your bank accounts, not necessarily accrual accounting. Let your CPAs deal with that. And then future is looking at pro formas and budgets and compensation reviews. Yes, even if you only have 2, 3, and 4 people, you still need to be doing those things so that you can prepare and plan out. But let's come back to the P of process that I mentioned. Purpose, people, process, and profit. When we look at process, we're going to break it down into the 4 core systems of every business. I don't care what you're selling or what your product is. The 4 core: marketing, sales, operation, administration, and accounting. So those 4 there. If you can start to create a sheet of paper, and here's a little task for you. Take a scratch sheet of paper, set a timer for 5 minutes, get a pen, and I want you to put these 4 categories at the top: marketing, sales, ops, and admin, and start to do a brain dump of all the processes that currently exist within those. I promise you it'll be very cathartic. It'll feel great to be able to do this. Whenever I'm speaking out at events, I'll usually have people do it right in the moment I'm speaking, and you can almost see this burden start to lift from them because they've never gotten this stuff out of their head. It's always been up here. Who's going to take this stuff? Nobody can do it like I can do it. That's a myth. It's a lie. In fact, many times they can do it better than you can do it if you're willing and have the humility and invest the time to get this stuff out. The 4th column here are advisor-related costs. So these are going to be things like hiring a certified exit planning advisor, hiring a CPA, hiring a certified financial planner. You've got your attorneys, you've got your insurance, which usually you don't have to hire, but they'll give you advice on these. But this is a team of advisors, and there will be a cost associated with this. But this cost here, and this cost here will be nothing like this cost here of inaction. And so when we look at these 4 categories and start to add up the cost, you can start to put some numbers around this. Vision planning, to sit down and actually go through the vision planning exercise, is probably going to be between $5,000 and $20,000, usually a one-time, something like that. Then to go, and usually this can be the same person that helps you with this, they'll kind of build this up front, and then to start methodically going out and building the process of your business, it is best to hire a coach and advisor who already has these templates built out, already has the roadmap methodology to be able to walk through. And so instead of a coach and advisor being like a counselor, hey, tell me what's wrong, sit down on the couch and I'll try to, fix you. Instead, what you want to do is to go, hey, I need an advisor who knows where I need to go. And that advisor and coach can start to take you there. And so we work with a lot of clients that way, and that we just tell them up front, hey, we've been up this mountain hundreds of times. You're going to go with us. And then once we get over this mountain, there will be a second mountain that you haven't climbed and we haven't climbed. But by then you trust us as your guide, and so we can take you there. So this is what we call the first mountain or base camp. We want to get to this, and usually this is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of about $30,000 to $40,000 a year. Now reminder, you can hire somebody full-time to help you do this. A, they're not going to have the templates built, and B, it's going to cost you about $120,000 to $150,000 a year to have a full-time in-house person, and now you got another person to have to lead and manage, right? So instead, you can do it for a fraction of the cost and bring somebody in, and within 3 to 4 months, this will start to become a rounding error if they're worth their weight of what they're doing. And then your advisors, once you put this advisor list together. Most of these advisors are going to work on fee-related things. Your CEPA will probably charge you much the same way that a coach will charge you. And in some cases, like for me, I'm a business coach, but I'm also a certified exit planning advisor. So I have both together. There are a lot of coaches that have this credential, so you can kind of bring all this under one person. Your CPA, you'll have to pay with fees. Your CFPs either can be fees or product-related incentives that they get paid. So you need to ask them about that. Your attorneys are going to be fees and your insurance. So this is kind of all over the map and how it can play out. But if you looked at an annual fee base, you're probably going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 20K if you look at this for what you're looking to do. It could be higher depending on the type of work you're having them do. It could be a little bit lower. But it's usually not going to be much lower than 10K to get all of this and put it in place. One other thought, you might look at a CEPA or a CEPA, a Certified Exit Planning Advisor, and ask, wait, is that an M&A consultant or a business broker? Actually, not necessarily. So you can have a business brokerage or an M&A but not be a CEPA, and you can be a CEPA and not be a business broker or an M&A. For instance, I'm a CEPA but I'm not a broker. but there are plenty of brokers in the SEPA community that also have that credential there. So if you add all this up, let's just call it about $62K a year. Remember what I said back here? If you hired one person to do this in-house, it's going to cost you $120 to $150K. Depending on your business, could be a lot higher as well. And so for $62,000 a year, if you subdivide that out, you cash flow, it's about $5K a month to be able to have all this value in-house. And if you go back here, this will cost you hundreds of thousands of inaction. Better to be proactive and look at this under this example rather than just kind of sitting on your hands and hoping for the best. Crossing your fingers is not a strategy. So you might ask, well, do I have to pay this every year? Well, you would have to pay this person every year if they stayed there. And so it's not, do you have to pay them every year? It's how can I continue to have them come back every year? Because this investment is well worth the product that they're going to give, because theoretically my business will continue to grow. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of times this will become a rounding error over time because they're going to set up financial dashboards, and a coach and advisor worth their weight in gold will offer you dashboards and actually track the return on your investment so you can physically see it. Now I want to answer something that you might be asking in your head and go, all right, if I have to pay this every year, but once I transition, do I still need to pay this? No, of course not. Now, the people you transition it to, they may want to pick up some of these advisory relationships that come about. But I'll also tell you this, you could just try to do 1 year of this and get away with it. The reality is repetition, predictability, meaning. Repetition, predictability, and meaning. Once you have advisors in place, all of a sudden they give you third-party wisdom, third-party voices to be able to come in. And one of the most valuable things they offer is perspective. Right now, I can't see on the other side of this board. Why? It's because I'm not over there. But if I had somebody over there, they could tell me what's going on over there. And if it's a trusted advisor, I believe what they have to say. You have blind spots in your business. And one of those blind spots is preparing for transition, preparing for exit. And these advisors offer you great value. But in the world of inaction, which most of us are prone to, it's going to cost you 3, 4, 5, 6 times that amount by not doing anything at all. Best to be proactive. See it as an investment in your business and ask yourself, can you find somebody powerful at a salary of $62,000 a year to come in and do all this? There's no way that you can do that. And starting to see it like that as this investment that you can cash flow over time, as long as you're willing to put in the time and attention. It's one of the biggest questions we ask prospects before they come in is not, can you afford it? We're going to look at your P&Ls and see that. It's, will you put in the time to get it done? So what's the true cost of succession planning? It's the cost of inaction and the cost of your time and attention to start building out your vision, the clarity of your process, and the team of your advisors. Remember, I told you earlier I had a really powerful video for you. I want you to go there right now. Click on the link in the description notes below, and I'm going to walk you step by step through how to build a clarifying vision story that is the start to your strategic and succession plan for your business. My name's Scott. We work with business owners just like you, between 3 and 100 employees, to build purpose, people, process, and profit so you can be liberated from chaos.